And then there was one. When all the other content creators rushed out right after TLC to make their little videos so they can give you guys their thoughts. And all of the bloggers blogged their little post out there in the community. All of the journalists have their opinions out there in the world immediately after TLC. And then we saved the best for last in this community. The Amplified Man! Where we don't give you just our opinion, we dissect this card top to bottom as it pertains to the main roster matches. We dissect them and we deliver the utmost in truth, the absolute facts, in a little video review I like to call the good, the bad, and the ugly. Where every single match will get a tally in one of these columns. And at the very end, we will see together, based on facts, if this pay-per-view was good or bad. Now, you want to stay away from the ugly column. If any of these matches go in the ugly column, when we do the final tally, that ugly will be crossed off and it'll turn into two bads. So every ugly will turn into two bads. That'll drastically change the outcome of my decision on if this pay-per-view was good or bad. Stay away from the uglies. Now, was any of these matches ugly-worthy? If you're saying no, you might have another thing coming. But we'll discuss. First and foremost, I want to get all the BS in the community out of the way, because that's all it is. A bunch of BS. I saw literally somebody on social media say this was a great pay-per-view because of all of the tables, the ladders, and the chairs. But I assure you, it takes much more to be a great pay-per-view than some table spots, some ladder spots, and some chair and kendo stick spots. To be a good pay-per-view, you have to have solid booking. Get creative. Here's a crazy concept. Good wrestling. You have to have the outcome, the finishes, be correct and leading to something. All of these things have to mix together to make a great pay-per-view. Now, we're going to go over this, but from the jump, on the onset, when this thing was said and done, did I feel like this was a great pay-per-view? Not even close. But we'll discuss. And then on the other side of the spectrum, you have people saying this was a tragic pay-per-view. This pay-per-view was horrible. It was garbage, trash. But they literally said, I saw one dude on social media who said all of this after he said, yes, the Bray Wyatt Daniel Bryan segment was cool, and the Alistair Black match was awesome, and the Revival and New Day was really good. But aside from all of that, it was garbage. But does this dumb fuck even realize that he just said 3 out of 7 matches only were good? So he basically said almost half of the card was good. So how can the whole pay-per-view be trash, garbage, and tragic, and horrible? No. You just said almost half of it was good. So that's why I'm in the community. We're going to go over every single match, and we're going to talk about it in the most truthful way possible. Dropping nothing but facts along the way, not just our opinions. Because opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one and they're usually full of shit. Let's be honest. Everybody in this community has their opinion to give to the world. I don't know about you guys, but I don't want anybody else's fucking opinion. I couldn't care less. Let's go over the fucking facts of this shit. And let's start right from the jump. And before I even jump into this, I want to say, hopefully, Kairi, Sane, and Alistair Black are okay. They were the majority, the bigger injuries last night. We are hearing that Roman Reigns had a little bit of a shoulder injury and that Big E possible leg injury, among other things that we're hearing. But the two big injuries from last night, Alistair Black, we don't know if he actually smashed his jaw in or his nose, but his face was busted. And then on top of that, Kairi Sane looked like she was out on her feet almost from the beginning of her main event match last night. For some reason, they kept her going, and it did not look good. If you go back into that main event match, guys, you see Kairi Sane take a power bomb by Charlotte, and it looked like she didn't even know where she was. She took a backdrop into the barricade, and she literally, it was just a body. It was like the lights were on, but nobody was home, and she just got flung, her head smacked into the concrete. She was out again, but by that point, we think she was already out. We think she accidentally got hit by a monitor by Charlotte Flair. And I say accidentally because everybody's giving Charlotte some shit this morning. But Charlotte Flair went to throw it directly in front of her. Unfortunately, the cable either got intercepted by Becky Lynch's, because Lynch was also throwing a monitor, but the cable kind of got intercepted, and the monitor took a weird drastic turn left right into Kairi's dome piece. We believe that's where she got concussed, because after that, every move she took looked fucking like the lights were on but nobody was home. She took the power bomb, didn't look like she knew where she was. She took the back body drop into the barricade, and it looked like it was just dead weight, and her head just smacked the concrete again. There was another spot where she took a spear from Charlotte, and it literally looked like she just dropped. She just crumbled. Charlotte was pissed, so she smacks Kairi in the face and then rips Kairi up by her fucking head. And again, at this point, we believe she was concussed. And if that is the case, then the referees did a horrible fucking job. Kairi should have been sent to the back. The finish could have still been Asuka wins the tag straps for her team. Why not make Asuka look fucking ultra dynamite last night? We can't do that. Charlotte has to be the golden queen. Becky Lynch has to be protected as the face of the company, which is a facade in itself, because she's not. But we can play that fucking game if we're Vince McMahon. We'll make pretend, because in a day and age where somebody like Becky Lynch is the face of your company is going to draw you some fucking media attention. But we have to protect them. You know damn well if the roles were reversed and it was Kairi and Asuka and Becky got injured, you know damn well he would have Charlotte win on her own. Or vice versa. Charlotte's injured, Becky would have won that match on her own. But no, Vince is like, she's fine, she's fine. Because they can't have one female like Asuka defeating his 2 golden prizes. It's bullshit. Kairi should have been much more protected. It was obvious something was wrong with Kairi last night. If we all knew that as fans, journalists, analysts, critics, whatever you want to call yourself, if we knew that watching, viewing, you damn well better bet they knew. Asuka checked on her 2 to 3 times afterwards, like very vividly, not just storyline wise. You could tell Asuka was making sure her friend, not just tag team partner, friend was okay. So I know that's getting a little amplified before we even get into the good, the bad, and the ugly, but I had to stress that something went really wrong in that tag match. And that's what made it even more messier, by the way. I think that match was supposed to be a little better than it was. Not by much. I still don't think they should have been in that spot, but on a card that was pretty weak to begin with, that's probably what they felt was the best solution. But I think that match would have been much better, at least, if Kairi Sane was all there. But that happened early on, and then the match totally fell off the rails, and I think there had to be one audible after another afterwards. If you think for 1 second that match was supposed to end without Kairi Sane doing an insane elbow from the top of the ladder, you're bullshitting yourself. There was a lot of shit that needed to be audibled, and that's why that main event became even more messier and sloppier than I think it would have been anyway. But it was supposed to be better, so give them the benefit of the doubt there, guys. You're not giving Vince the benefit of the doubt, trust me, because he fucked up in not taking Kairi out. But the match would have been a little better at least. Well, we'll get to that in a little bit more in depth when we hit the main event. Let's start from the jump, and again, Alistair Black, Kairi Sane, we hope they're okay. We'll be receiving more word as the hours go by this morning. We started off with the New Day versus the Revival. New Day, the tag team champions for SmackDown, Revival, the challengers. I certainly did not need to see another New Day Revival match, but once they made it a ladder match, I was kind of like, this could be something. And sure enough, my curiosity was piqued for a reason. These 4 men did the deed last night in that opening contest. A legit demolition derby with the New Day ultimately retaining their tag team titles. That match could have went either way and I would have been fine with it. Again, I didn't need to see another rematch between these two. But if you're going to put it at the jump, right from the start, and get it over with, so we don't have to wait 2 hours into the show just to see another rematch, then that's the way to do it. Now, as this card shaped out to be, we would be getting rematches later on anyway, so we couldn't win. But at least we got one of these rematches out of the way, and trust me, it was in the best of way possible. If you're going to make a ladder match between these 2 teams, if that didn't pique your curiosity, you better check the old pulse. And then when it was all said and done, you best better bet they damn sure delivered. Good match, nothing more to say here. Again, New Day retains their championships, and that goes into the good column. That is the way you start a fucking pay-per-view with those teams. It's a shame what's going on with the Revival. I don't understand what's going on other than I really believe they're just not going to re-sign then, if that's the case. I think they know if they do, it's just going to be more booking like this. So it looks like that could have been their last big feud, and maybe Vince kind of holds them off TV or totally jobs them out until April comes around and the Revival is out. But they could have been a lot more, I guess is what I'm saying. And it's kind of a shame that they weren't more. And even with their couple of tag title... I can't even call them reigns because they were so short-lived. But that's kind of where the company is at, right? A lot of people just have these short title reigns. Unless your name is the face of the company, Becky Lynch, you little weirdo. If you're Becky Lynch, then you've held it for most of the fucking year. Everyone else, it's like a rotating fucking door, you know? And it's one of those hot potato type situations. So I just feel the Revival deserved more. In a match like that last night, you kind of see what I'm talking about. You see that they have a lot more to offer than what WWE has showcased them in. But awesome first match to kick us off. So we were in the right direction. Could the second match follow suit? Well, that was Buddy Murphy versus Alistair Black. This one was everything I wanted it to be and everything it needed to be. Between these two. Just friggin' physical to another level. Alistair's face was smashed in, blood everywhere, and yet every kick he delivered to Murphy had extra amplification behind it. But the same can be said about Murphy's kicks to Alistair's dome piece. Every kick between these two was just extra amplified. It was just physical. You could tell that it was half wrestling and half just fight. It was really fun. Alistair finds an opening at the end of this thing and delivers a black mass, and we all know that all Alistair needs is that one tiny opening, that one moment where his opponent makes him a little bit of a mistake and he can fit in that black mass. And if that black mass connects, you ain't waking up. Black mass was hit, and Alistair collects a W. And again, we hope Alistair Black is okay. It did not look good. It didn't look like just a little bloody nose. It looked like his face was a little bit smashed in. It looked like he was feeling out his jaw even more than his nose. His nose looked crooked, but he kept touching his jaw and like feeling that. It's very rare, I should say, that we see Alistair Black show any type of real pain. He was showing it last night. And that's a testament to how tough Buddy Murphy is and the respect that Black has for Murphy, because even though Alistair was in pain, I think he would have hit it a little more, but he knows who he's in the ring with, and he's going to sell even extra for Buddy, and Buddy deserves that. These two just went out there and delivered. And again, the physicality, that's all they needed to do last night, and they would have delivered. They did that. They over-delivered. And that was really cool to see. 2 matches in a row, there's no way I could rate this anything but good. So we're 2 matches in, guys, and we got 2 fucking goods. Let's keep this fucking thing rolling. Can the third match follow suit, and we have the whole beginning of this pay-per-view being solid? Unfortunately not. Up next, we had the Raw Tag Title match. This was an open challenge by the champions, the Viking Raiders, and the OC accepts. Yay, another fucking rematch from Monday Night Raw that we've seen 76 times. So the Raiders versus the OC is official. Now, they were in Minnesota, home of the Minnesota Vikings, obviously. So this was easily the Viking Raiders' best reaction on the main roster to date. Now, as a Packer fan myself, that was repulsive to actually have to view, but I understood the concept of it. And hey, it was good to see the Viking Raiders experience time machine adventure, whatever you want to call them. It was good to see them actually get a reaction. Oh, man. Now, this match was a good 7 or 8 minutes before both teams were ruled counted out. Then they put Carl Anderson through a KFC table. That's right, you heard me correctly. Carl Anderson was put through a KFC, like Kentucky Fried Chicken. He was put through a table that had the whole little banner of KFC. I can't make this up, guys. They had like fans that won a VIP KFC eating experience, right? A table was set up at ringside. These fans get to eat and watch the match, like, set up at ringside. So, and then when it was the match was done after 7 minutes, and it was basically a no contest. It was a double count out. So then they just told the fans to move, and then they put Carl Anderson through the KFC table. This whole thing was just gimmicky. This whole thing was obviously just filler. And when you have a pay-per-view, I don't want just filler. Not when it's a tag title match. I should not be having a tag title match on a pay-per-view just be a filler match. And a rematch that I've seen a dozen times. Unapologetically, this goes into the bad. That's a sorry, not sorry type situation. We deserve better than that as fans, and that company deserves to put out better for us. And these participants, they deserve, but the OC deserves much better than that. And your tag team title holders, yeah, they deserve a hell of a lot more than that type of a match. So that brought it down a little bit. Could the fourth match bring us back up? I wish I could say that. This was actually Roman Reigns versus King Corbin, a TLC match. That's right. Let's waste a TLC match concept on an insignificant match because it's one of Vince's prized possessions, Roman. And a guy that nobody gives a fuck about in King Corbin. Now, I don't mind King Corbin. I think he is a damn good heel. But we haven't seen him in anything that we give a shit about. And until we see him in those roles, then he's just going to be somebody that we kind of roll our eyes back a little bit at. And now we have Roman and Corbin, and this is a match we've seen time and time again, so just another rematch. And now they're throwing some tables, ladders, and chairs and hoping that they can overbook this to the point where we gave a fuck. And this match was completely overbooked. And that's exactly how it should have been booked. You guys probably don't even realize this, but I do my research for you guys. You know that. And upon my research, my investigative work, I come to the conclusion that Roman and Corbin have faced one another 7 times within the last 2 months on TV. Live events, obviously, that's another story. Live events, a plethora more times. But 7 times in the last 2 months, 7 times on television, we have seen King Corbin and Roman Reigns in that ring together. That is excessive to a fault. We've seen them in 1 8-man tag match, 2 6-man tag matches, 1 regular tag team match, and 3 one-on-one matches. Just to get us into last night. 7 times I've seen them in the last 58 days. And you're telling me, BC, how are you not excited about this match? Because that's what they're putting on a pay-per-view to end 2019. 2 people I've already seen in the ring in every type of match you can think of. 8-man, 6-man, regular tag, 3 times one-on-one, and let's see it once more with a TLC stipulation. So what's my point? Well, to make me give a fuck, you better overbook this at the very least, or attempt to overbook this so I care in the very minuscule of ways. And they did that, actually. They overbooked it, from Corbin's security being involved and subsequently getting wrecked to the timekeeper being annihilated. Some table spots, and even the Revival and Ziggler helping Corbin get the ultimate W. A little bit of a shocker. You telling me Roman Reigns didn't get the ultimate victory here? They actually had Corbin go over. With the help, again, of Ziggler and Revival. So there was a lot of bells and whistles going off in this match. But again, that was the only way that I was going to be anywhere near semi-entertained by this. And I was. But in the end, it didn't do justice by what should have been done. And that's, this match should have never even been on that card. Everything was already squashed between these two. Or at the very least, you don't put a TLC stipulation on it. You could have saved that for a championship match down the road with AJ Styles and Randy Orton, for instance. Instead, they took Orton and Styles out. They took the Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens match out. And yes, I know Rollins has a little bit of a finger injury, but I've seen these superstars compete with casts on their hand. If you're telling me Rollins ain't ready to go, you're bullshitting yourself. Put a fucking cast on that sumbitch and you have a TLC match. But no, we got it with Corbin and Roman. So even though they did overbook this, which is what should have been done, and even though there was times in this match I was semi-entertained, it wasn't enough. And unfortunately, there was too much bad booking that went into this. Unapologetically, sorry not sorry situation, that goes into the bad. Again, you gotta do better. I'm not delivering mulligans on these reviews anymore. I know there's a lot of people probably right now that are like, BC, that was harsh, man. Like, you just said they tried, and you said that you even entertained a few times in this match. Yes, but they have to do better. Just being entertained a few times in the match and just overbooking something just so you can hide the fact that you had shitty booking on the card is not going to be good enough. And I'm not settling anymore. I'm not lowering my bar anymore for that company. There's no more mulligans. You're gonna deliver top to bottom as flawlessly and as best as possibly humanly possible, or you're not gonna have it on the card. Or I'm gonna put it in the ugly, or if I'm being generous, in the bad column. That's the options now for that company. I'm not delivering any more mulligans. It's been a hellacious 2017, 18, and even worse 2019. If you think I'm gonna put up with the same shit in 2020, you're wrong. So where does this take us? To the 5th match. Yes, I was extra harsh in that last one. I'm sick of shitty booking on our pay-per-views. Bottom line. The 5th match. Can we get back on schedule? Because now we're 2-2. We're tied after the first 4 matches. The 5th match was the Universal Championship. This was Bray Wyatt, the champion. That Mr. Rogers character, too. So that was the first time we're really going to see him wrestle. So that was really cool. And he's taking on the challenger, Miz. Now, Wyatt was over from the jump. Crowd just loved him. But he's buried. He's ruined BC. That's what I was hearing after Hell in a Cell. Now listen, nobody was more furious than me after Hell in a Cell. Trust me, if you saw that review, you know what I'm talking about. But never did I say he's ruined or buried. I'm like, dude, the guy is still very new. And he's still behind the creative juggernaut that is that character. It's not Vince. Bray Wyatt has a lot more leeway and freedom with that character. So I knew he'd get back on track. It was a night of shitty booking by Vincent Kennedy McMahon, but we will get back on track with that character. You have to stick behind him. Don't just jump off the bandwagon yet, guys. Stick with him, please. I urged you to do that. So many people said he's buried and ruined. And after last night, you saw that not only is The Fiend not ruined, but Mr. Rogers Bray is fucking not ruined. Mr. Rogers Bray was fucking over with the crowd. I told you, both his characters are epic. That's how awesome Bray Wyatt is to this wrestling community, wrestling business industry, and it's a blessing to have him in the pro wrestling business, because let me tell you, there's not a lot of characters like him, if any, and that's a shame. We need more people like Bray Wyatt, because that's what the business was founded upon. That character is what attracted me to pro wrestling. As a youngster, and it's what kept me into pro wrestling as I got older. And we don't see those type of characters anymore. Bray Wyatt is that dude. Now, the storytelling in this match was beautiful. The Miz was furious with Wyatt bringing his family into this and tried everything he could to make Wyatt pay. But Wyatt seemingly felt no pain. So everything Miz was doing, Wyatt was just laughing off. Even replacing a dislocated shoulder during the match. That's right, Miz snaps back Wyatt's arm. And there's a moment where Wyatt stops laughing. And he gets a little bit more sadistic there. And he actually says, "Do it! Do it!" And Miz is like, "All right." Boom! Snaps Wyatt's arm back. Wyatt sold this beautifully. Like he literally got his shoulder dislocated. And possibly even his elbow. But then he crawls out to the outside, and Wyatt just starts going nuts and runs into the barricade full steam, shoulder first, to relocate, if you will, reposition that shoulder back in place. It was freaking awesome, and that's the storytelling. That's the storytelling. That's the storytelling we need to see. That's what I miss, and that's what this business, this industry, misses more than anything. That type of selling. I got a million dudes doing flips and dives and captivating everybody's short span attention. Wow, 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 but nobody's selling anymore. Nobody's got the psychology. That's what pro wrestling is based on. The foundation of pro wrestling at its very core is the simplistic nature of selling and physicality mixed in with that psychology. When you mix all three of those, the physicality, the psychology, and the selling, you have a masterpiece waiting to be had and told to the world in story format. But no, nobody wants to do that anymore. They want to flip and dive so you're not bored for one solitary second. Let them be bored for 10 seconds if that's going to tell a better story in the long run. Wyatt crawls out and relocates his dislocated shoulder. Fucking love that shit, man. Something that's simple to many is something so major to yours truly. The finish saw Wyatt defeat Miz via Sister Abigail. Now, post-match, via orders from The Fiend, because The Fiend appeared on the Tron. And you see Bray Wyatt going, "All right, I'll do it." Like The Fiend didn't say a word, but there's a message being sent to Bray in the ring. So Bray's like, "I'll do it." And he goes outside and he gets that huge fucking mallet that we saw at Hell in a Cell. And he went to deliver that to The Miz, but the lights went out. Wyatt starts yelling, "He's here, he's here," but it's Daniel Bryan who appears. totally knocks the block off of Wyatt, drops Wyatt, and then the lights... What happened after that, guys? Yeah, the lights went out. Wyatt was nowhere to be found when the lights went back on. But at that point, Bryan had the mallet, and he was going to deliver it to Wyatt. But that's when the lights went out. And when they went back out, Wyatt was nowhere to be found. And it was just Bryan in the ring. And it was old school Bryan. It was the old school fucking, the head is shaved off. You got no more fucking beard. This was that clean cut Bryan. You're taking it back to WWE, ROH even days. You're taking it old school. And that was really good to see. So, if you're telling me now that we have old school Bryan and this Bray Wyatt to look forward to in a story, in a feud heading into Royal Rumble and even toward WrestleMania season, to say I'm hooked would be an understatement. Everything about this match and the post-match extracurricular activity with Bryan and setting up Bryan and Wyatt, everything about this was good. But I also have to give daps and props to Miz. He played this thing beautifully with just 2 weeks to sell this, and he played it off beautifully last night. So Miz played an awesome role as well to get us to where we need to be with Bryan and Wyatt. Everything about this goes into the good. Very cool to see, guys. I mean that. When everything goes right, that's what you'll get. A product that we're actually intrigued with. And it even captivated. Fucking awesome. Let me get a sip of coffee, and we will start the last 2 matches of this pay-per-view and see where they land. Alright guys, moving on to match number 6 now on the main show. This was Rusev versus Lashley in a tables match. Just like Roman and Corbin from earlier on in the night, this is another match that the majority of us just never really got behind. They tried some cool spots here, but a lot of it was just messy, including the finish, which saw Lashley spear Rusev into a table, but it didn't break, because Lashley brought and put zero velocity into it. Then Lashley had the belly-to-belly suplex Rusev through another table and finally got the W because he finally got that table to break. For Rusev, this dude just took your wife and losing was just not an option for your character. I'll say it again. The dude just took your wife and you're losing a wrestling match. The Rusev character could not afford to lose that. But of course he did. But everything about this just felt out of place and just wrong. The whole story leading up to it, all of that time dedicated to these two in just a weird story. At the beginning it had potential and it fell off really fast and furious afterwards. And it just seemed like it just wouldn't end after that. Right, when something doesn't work and the creator of such product, entity, or whatever the situation is, if something doesn't work and somebody created it, you find that out, right? You hear the feedback and you cancel it, you end it. And instead, Vince took what we were saying and all of the backlash and he just kept giving them even more segments, longer, the beginning and the ends of Monday Night Raw. Until finally, we have to see this right before the main event of a pay-per-view. Everything about this just felt off, and again, I mean the whole storyline leading up to it as well. So this is absolutely going into the bad column. There's no way I can put that into the good. I don't know. Anybody right now who's saying, BC, that was harsh, what do you mean? What do you want me to do? How am I going to put anything about this into the good column? You are damn lucky I'm not putting it into the ugly column. All right? Let me just put it that way. If anything, I'm not being too harsh. I'm actually being generous. So we go into the main event. This is the 7th and final match on the main show. And we are totally tied 3-3. At this point, the pay-per-view was right in the middle, right? Nobody, that's what I mean. Anybody saying that this was a great pay-per-view, or anybody saying that this was a trash pay-per-view, horrible, you both would be wrong. Because we're 6 matches in, 3 of them were good, right? I mean, that's just a fact. The Bray Wyatt, Bryan, Miz situation and all of that was good. Alistair Black and Buddy Murphy was good. Revival and New Day was good. That's half of the card so far. The other half, not good. That's what I mean. You both would be wrong. Oh, it was great. Oh, this is a horrible... But you're both wrong. And that's why I'm in the community, thankfully. We're going to dissect it match by match and literally drop the facts. We're going into the 7th match. Now, this will ultimately tip the meter one way or the other, but it wasn't ultimately great or ultimately horrible. We're going to find out right now if it was edged out to be good or bad, though. And when it was all said and done, it's kind of unfortunate. And I'll explain why in just a couple of minutes. Because the main event was the women's tag title match. Asuka and Kairi, the tag title holders for the females, taking on Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch. Firstly, these women put it to the boards last night and brought the utmost in physicality. You can't ask for much more from the jump. You want them to really bring it. They did do that last night, so that is awesome. I'm proud of them. However, let's call it what it was. Sloppy. Right, the whole thing, sloppy. It was like the game plan was all four of you go out there and for 20 minutes just do some shit. Do some crazy shit. Now, sometimes that type of plan can turn out cool. Last night was not one of those times. But I aforementioned why a big piece of the puzzle was just not put into place last night, and that was Kairi Sane. Her lights went out early in this match when she was dinged by a monitor. Charlotte Flair flung a monitor. It looked like, when you watch it back, it looked like it was Becky Lynch's, but it wasn't. Becky Lynch's kind of intercepted Charlotte's, but Charlotte's kind of went straight and then curved right to Kairi's dome piece. But Charlotte Flair, it was an accident. It wasn't like Charlotte was looking at Kairi and chucked it at her. Charlotte wasn't even looking at Kairi. Went to throw it straight ahead, but the cord got stuck, caught up or some shit, and it totally did like a fucking, I want to say 360. No, it just turned left. Just boom! Just derailed right into Kairi Sane's dome piece. And we believe that's where she was done and out because afterwards it was not the same. The entire match was affected. Audibles had to be called. And again, we saw a powerbomb where Kairi just looked like dead weight. We saw a belly-to-belly like suplex into the barricade. Kairi looked like dead weight. We saw the spear. Kairi looked like dead. It looked like Kairi just wanted no part because Kairi knew something was wrong. We saw Asuka check on her 3 times vividly during the match. We saw no insane elbow from the top of the ladder, which we knew was going to be one of the main spots. None of it. So we have to believe that Kairi got fucked up there. And if that's the case, you could be seeing them drop the titles tonight on Monday Night Raw. Because usually in a situation like that, they will vacate them. Because that would mean Kairi is gone for at least a couple of months. We hope it's not a concussion, but it looked pretty fucking severe, guys. So we don't know. But that is a huge reason why this match was even worse than it probably was going to be anyway. But I don't think it was supposed to be that bad. But when you got 2 females in there like Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair that cannot stand to sell, first of all, they suck at selling, but on top of that, they don't like to sell. They like to be super Becky and super Charlotte. So they hate selling, first of all. And then you got fucking Kairi who can't even fucking walk half the match. I mean, Asuka was left to do everything in there. And when that happens, you're going to have a pretty sloppy performance. And that's what this was. Unfortunately, I can't dissect circumstances from one another. This is a good, the bad, and the ugly. The match itself was absolutely ugly. I mean, there's no way to sugarcoat that. And again, I'm telling you why, and I feel bad that I have to say that. Because I know how much energy and passion they put into that. All 4 females, no matter how we feel about Becky or Charlotte. All 4 of them. Kairi, who was down and out, still putting in the work. Still trying to finish this thing. All of them deserve the utmost credit and props, and I will give that to them. But this review is not called the credit and props review. It's called the good, the bad, and the ugly. So I don't see any way I can't put this in the ugly column. And that's a shame because when this thing was done, Asuka and Kairi ended up retaining their championships. I honestly thought Vince was going to put them back on Charlotte and Becky. I honestly thought we were going to have Becky 2 belts and Charlotte was going to have a title to end 2019. And, you know, it was refreshing to see Asuka and Kairi with those championships. But we couldn't at that moment just hide the fact that we just saw an ugly match. I have no choice. I have to stay true to this channel and what this review show is, guys. That was an ugly match. And again, that's what I meant at the start of this match when I said it's kind of a shame that this was the match to kind of tip the scale in one way or the other, if it was a good pay-per-view or bad. This main event match was the one to tip the scale. The performance was just... I don't even want to say the performance. I feel they tried. I think when Kairi got injured, that's when everything went awry. And when you have 2 people in there that just don't like to sell, 1 female is left to carry all the weight. It just wasn't a good match. It wasn't even bad. It was ugly. So, that tips the scale there, guys. That's all secondary. Real life shit. Real talk. We hope Kairi Sane is okay. And I can't wait to find out more on her. We hope that it is not a legit full throttle concussion. We hope it was just her bell was rung. She, you know, the lights were on, but nobody was home situation. But when she got to the back, she was feeling better. And hopefully today and for the next couple of weeks, we just let her rest. We hope that's the situation and it's not a concussion. If it's a concussion, you're talking about several months that she's out. And some people never even fully get back to normal with concussions, guys. The dome piece is a very tricky situation to get back to normal. So, that's it, guys. That's the main event. And then some weird shit happened at the end. I'm not even going to put this in a column because I'm still trying to figure out what this was about. Roman Reigns, Baron Corbin, and 50 other dudes start brawling onto the outside around the arena. And Roman Reigns and Baron Corbin are up on like a fucking platform. Roman spears Baron Corbin into the 50 people, like the sea of people just start falling. So that one huge spot was out there to steal some thunder from Asuka and Kairi, I guess, right? We can't have the show end with Asuka and Kairi. How dare we? So they had to have Roman Reigns, who just lost earlier in the night to Baron. We had to make Roman Reigns look like Super Roman at the end. Then what the hell was the Baron Corbin victory for if Baron Corbin just got speared into oblivion afterwards? So Super Roman still ended up ending the show. We cannot have one show end without Charlotte Flair or Roman Reigns. Fuck. Oh, I'm sorry, the man, Becky Lynch. It was okay if we just ended it with Asuka and Kairi finally getting the spotlight they fucking deserved for so long. Kairi fucking barely able to stand, and she's holding up a championship, and we get 5 seconds of them celebrating, and then Roman Reigns is out here fucking spearing 57 people. Or one person into 57 people. And you're telling me 57 people fell off of one spear? Do you really need a mosh pit situation to fucking make sure that Baron Corbin doesn't hit his head on the concrete? You could have had 5 people out there, they would have caught Baron. Not 57. I don't even know what that was about, and it's not even worth putting in any column. I know, BC, you should put that in the ugly. I probably should, but it's not worth even rating. The main event is going to end this rating system, and unfortunately that main event, and they should have known by now, man. The WrestleMania main event with the triple threat with Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair, that didn't completely fucking land for everyone. Then we went into Survivor Series. We saw another triple threat females match, and it didn't fucking land. This matchup didn't fucking... I'm not saying never put them in that final spot, but have something more for them. Have an audible that is going to be utilized in case something goes wrong and awry. Have an audible in place that is going to dramatically improve the match, not take away from the match. They had no plan in place here for Kairi getting injured. They just said, keep her out there and let her do the best she can. Because that's all we have. One too many times I'm seeing these females not delivering in the main event spots. At what point do we kind of say, you know what I mean? I'm not saying they shouldn't be there for good, but we have to start thinking like if we're putting them in there, we have to put them in a much better way and shine them in a better light. Even if Kairi didn't get injured, even if that match was really good last night, you're telling me that the finish was still going to be Roman Reigns and Baron Corbin. You're telling me the spotlight still wouldn't have been on the females. So either way, I just don't know. I don't know what that company is trying to accomplish by putting the females in the main event spot time after time in 2019. I just don't... I mean, the fact that Asuka and Kairi versus Becky and Charlotte was your main event at a TLC pay-per-view to begin with, if that doesn't befuddle you, if that's not an issue for you, then, you know, again, you got a couple 2 tree screws loose up in the dome piece, because the bottom line is, it's befuddling. But then again, you look at the card. It was befuddling. I'm just glad that almost half the card, 3 matches at least, delivered. You know? Because I thought the whole thing was going to be a horrible pay-per-view. But again, once you break it down, and you're being real and truthful, and you're not just acting on emotion, it was horrible! No, it wasn't. 3 of the 7 matches were actually good. That's why you see 3 goods. I'll tell you what's horrible. 3 more other things. One thing was actually fucking ugly. Now, when this is all said and done, I told you guys, the ugly actually gets canceled out and turns into 2 bads, unfortunately. So that goes out. That turns into 2 bads. So when this thing was said and done, the final tally is 5 for a bad pay-per-view. That's a shame. Because again, there was several moments where I was really entertained last night and enjoying the pay-per-view. Again, I already named those moments in those matches. So it's a shame that it turned just into the bad bracket. Because I thought there were so many chances for this pay-per-view when it was all said and done for us to call this a really good pay-per-view. There were so many chances and they just kept dropping the ball. And it started before the pay-per-view even began. And that was just through booking. And then creatively, they just didn't have enough juice to tip the side of the spectrum in the right way. And instead, we ended up getting just barely, but by 2 tallies, we ended up getting a bad pay-per-view. Again, for those thinking that this was a really good one and you're befuddled by my review, wow, BC, how is this a bad pay-per-view? Guys, I just went over it with you. We cannot lower our bar to a point where you can't go any lower. You can't keep giving Vince McMahon these mulligans. He's going to take that and fucking just look at you as sheep. He's going to take that and say, see what I mean? These are just my fucking minions. They're dumb as fuck. I can feed them anything and they'll say, please, sir, can I have some more? You can't be that person. They have to do better going into the pay-per-view and then they have to deliver better on the pay-per-view. The 3 matches, that's awesome to see. 3 out of 7 were good. That's awesome. You're telling me we can't have 4, 5? Here's a crazy concept. Maybe every match be fucking cool. Great. We can't have that? Once or twice a fucking year even? Is that too much to ask? So, I'm not going to lower my standards in my bar for Vince McMahon. And in these reviews, you're going to see such. And that's why this was a bad pay-per-view in the end. That's sad, because 3 of those matches actually did fucking deliver. And there were some moments in the other matches that were actually entertaining. Just not enough to get it over that hump. That's it, guys. It's a sorry, not sorry situation, as I call it. That is the final verdict, and I did it in the most truthful, most fact-based way that I possibly could. I dissected every match, we did it together, and that's the outcome that we came up with. It was not a good pay-per-view, unfortunately. But I am going to take the good things from last night and move forward, and hopefully that we move forward into a better direction in 2020. But with Vince McMahon at the helm, don't hold your breath. But that Daniel Bryan old school character taking on this Bray Wyatt character, a little bit of fucking Mr. Rogers with a little bit of Fiend, this is going to be something fun if they let them just go loose and let them be creative like they are, man. If Vince McMahon just takes a backseat to this and lets Bray Wyatt conduct this, be the ultimate conductor, we're in for one crazy, wild, awesome story. One crazy, wild, awesome ride. Tonight's Monday Night Raw. We'll do this again tomorrow morning, guys, for Monday Night Raw. Not the good, the bad, and the ugly, but we will review it top to bottom, start to finish, beginning to end. And you know damn well I'm not going to give them any mulligans on Raw either. The WWE as a fucking full-fledged company is now on my fucking radar. And I'm going to call them out on every good, bad, and ugly going forward. On every one of their shows, every segment. This is the place to be for reviews. You're not going to get any bullshit here. You're going to get nothing but the truth and the facts. Sometimes that's going to make you cry and make you sad and make you depressed. Other times you're going to be like, yeah, that's my boy BC, dropping it like it's hot. Because that's what I do here. The Amplified Man again, Kairi, Alistair, we hope you guys are okay, and all the superstars that got injured last night that we don't even know about. It definitely was a physical night of action. No matter what I review, no matter what the outcome is, first and foremost, this is all for entertainment. Just like they're doing for us, that's what we do on this channel. It's entertainment for all of you guys. So that's first and foremost. When it's all said and done, the main priority is all of those superstars' safety and all of our props. Our thank you to those superstars for giving us that night of entertainment last night. Because that means everything to us. We know that they're putting their bodies on the line for us, so for our entertainment. And that's why people like me can provide my sort of entertainment for everyone else. So we all have a fucking spoke on the wheel here. And we all play our part. I can fucking speak. I need another coffee. I'm going to shut the fuck up. I'll see you guys tomorrow for the Raw review and reaction. The Amplified Man! Yow! Check you later.